All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown Day 375, I think, by my count. So what's going on? What's going down? I'm not sure if I covered some of the updates from the so this is one of these things where you can see a setup coming. You can see what's coming is coming, right? The Derek Chauvin trial in Minneapolis with the death of George Floyd. Now, there's a whole bunch of commentary, critique, opinion, etc. about issues like, George Floyd. And there seem to be a lot of people who don't exactly understand, the nature of, law and law enforcement and courts and what have you. So what you have is people thinking, well, he's going to go on trial, and they're going to look at the video we all saw, which was obviously, quote unquote, murder in the first degree. And so then he's going to get charged and he's going to go to prison because he totally unequivocally murdered George Floyd. And that's not actually that may or may not be true in an objective, in a real world sense. That may be true even. I don't think that is true, but in reality, how the legal system works is they're charging him with murder 2. You're not going to get murder 2. You're not going to get murder in the second degree because someone called you on your job to come and confront a person who then acted out the way that George Floyd did. And if you think that they should, then you don't understand the legal system. Because they have images and I think video from Minneapolis Police Department showing how to use the knee on the neck maneuver in order to subdue a suspect. Then they're going to point to the drugs in his system, and if I'm misremembering, there was fentanyl and methamphetamine in his system. Do you know what that means? That is an upper and a downer, and that will cause cardiac arrests. I'm not a doctor. That's my understanding. That's partially why they banned 4 Loco in Washington state anyway, or they tried to, is because kids were having blackout parties where they would chug 4 Locos and pass out because it was a caffeinated alcohol drink like Bull Blasters. Right? You remember Bull Blasters? Google it, kids. Anyways, they're going to say there's no direct correlation between their behavior and the death of the suspect, and therefore you can't get murder 2, and then we're going to have riots, and then you arrive at the point of thinking maybe that overcharging is intentional in order to cause more unrest and rioting. Because the same people who benefit from capturing, say, the black vote in Minneapolis are the same people doing the prosecuting, and injustice is put off and blamed on not them. It's blamed on the system, systemic racism, etc., etc. And this is why you have, there are vocal black conservatives and black Republicans who are why do we keep voting for these Democrats and then getting the same results? Which goes to my joke about, it's a glib take about how apparently Democrats are bad at policing black people, because we're not talking about Black Lives Matter cases coming out of Missoula, Montana. That's not where they're coming from. They're not coming from, what is it? Deer Run, Michigan. That's not where they're coming from. They're coming from New York, Atlanta, Baltimore, Ferguson. Isn't Ferguson like St. Louis? It's coming from these Democrat-run areas. So then you get a pushback from black people who are like, yeah, the Democrats don't represent me, as evidenced by, XYZ. Now, this is where I think Republicans get a little bit of hubris, overconfidence, where they're basically saying, oh, well, look at the Democrat, they call it the Democrat plantation even. I've seen them say that. It's like, ugh, it's a little cringy, guys. I would not use that language. But they're like, see, look, the Democrats are useless. Come over here and join us, the Republicans. And it's like, yeah, you mean the party of Reagan that, trafficked cocaine into the inner cities and caused the crack epidemic, and then, like Joe Biden, voted for legislation that over-prosecuted against possessors of crack as opposed to cocaine. And so then you're supposed to become a black Republican voter? And what, the Republican Party, what, George Bush, the party of Iraq War II? I'm sorry, they don't have to, and they don't want to, obviously. And whatever the Democrat propaganda is, it's working. It's all propaganda, but the Democrat propaganda is working. And this is, again, goes back to that kind of your feelings don't care about your facts. And this is why the jury selection process of the George Floyd thing has become so kind of contentious, is because they are supposed to be objective and assess the evidence of the case, but the jurors know, based on what the pre-existing cultural narrative of the case, everyone's heard of this. There's not anyone that hasn't heard of this, okay? It's going to influence their opinion and their assessment in the legal proceedings, and they are going to this is why trials get moved to different places. This is why people get excused from juries. It's because they've demonstrated a certain amount of subjectivity, let's just say. And that's not, that's part of the nature of the human condition, is to value certain things and weight evidence certain ways, because you have your own, sort of personal biases and whatnot. Biases? But, the whole, the weight and value of the jury trial itself, and then the ultimate outcome, because again, the outcome will be that they're not going to be able to get murdered too. And when they don't get murdered too, there will be riots. So this puts pressure on the jury to, knowingly going in, going in knowing this, that if they don't kind of give the angry mob what they want, then there will be more angry mob. At which point, if they choose to prosecute or convict Chauvin, that's not justice either. And the city already paid out millions of dollars to George Floyd's family, which is essentially an admission of guilt. And that therefore means that the jury should decide the same way, even though that's not really what that means. Like that isn't what that means. That means the city caved to pressure. It's not the same thing as a jury assessing the evidence. So there's gonna be kind of like a miscarriage of justice, like either way. Chauvin will be ruled not guilty of murder too. They might be able to get him on like manslaughter or negligent homicide or something like that, because they brought back like a murder 3 charge or something. The other officers are gonna walk. Their lives are ruined forever. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is like George Zimmerman. Like, his life will never be the same again. Like, he will be recognized places that he goes. They will all be recognized. They will be called murderers. Probably can't get a job in law enforcement. Never mind, like almost any other industry, unless somebody really wants to take a chance on them or something. That's the, it's the reality of the social issues of being accused of these high profile crimes. Somehow OJ pulled out of it. I don't know how that guy pulled out of it, but he's on Twitter every day. Hey, Twitter world. I mean, I believe he killed those 2 people. I believe he killed them. But yeah, and so this and the trial will play out probably just long enough to get to summertime. And then summertime is when people feel like rioting and protesting, peacefully protesting and then rioting, because it's more comfy out. When it's like raining and snowing, people suddenly don't feel as emotionally invested in getting out in the streets. And I guess black lives don't matter as much when it's cold outside. And yes, this is actually true. Like, there's far less protesting during the dark winter months than there is during the summer. So some subset of you protesting, malcontents are full of it. All right, that's enough for a Thursday. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.